Welcome to Wrestling Chat with Friends, the Tuesday show. We are part of the Family Podcast Network. I'm EJ the Collector. Thanks for joining in tonight. We are live. We are going to talk about WWE SmackDown this past Friday. We're going to talk about Raw last night as we gear up for Extreme Rules, the big pay-per-view coming this Saturday. Come join us. Join our be part of the community. Be a friend. Join us on our Facebook page, Wrestling Chat with Friends. Join us on our YouTube page, Wrestling Chat with Friends. Twitter at WCWF Pod. We're also on Apple and Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. A lot of our shows, all our Thursday shows have been uploaded, and we're getting these uploaded too. I am joined. This is show number 4. We've been covering WWE exclusively for 1 month now, and I'm glad we're doing it this month. I'm not sure if I would have wanted to do this show 8 months ago, 12 months ago, 14 months ago. But if I was going to be joined by my co-host tonight, I definitely would have. He is the non-NXT watcher. TG, how you doing tonight, my man?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing excellent. Thank you. What's going on with you this week? Any big highlights, anything other than tuning in for WWE for a few hours this week?
I think you mentioned the pay-per-view, and I'm sure we'll get into that as the show progresses. I think this is, for a non-Big Four show, I think the card is as well constructed as they've had in a long time for a show that's kind of at this tier of their premium live events, as they like to call them now. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am too, surprisingly. I mean, mostly because the product has improved in the last couple of months, but what they built up to for this pay-per-view, especially with, I guess, like Survivor Series and Royal Rumble, two of their other sort of like some of their Big Four around the corner. This is a nice surprise to know that we're getting kind of hyped up for a non-Big Four pay-per-view. Yeah. Would you want to say anything else?
No, I was just gonna say I think one of the things that reflects the sort of more coherent booking that we've seen since Triple H took over is the fact that this is an Extreme Rules pay-per-view, where if you go up and down the card, it's like, oh, all of these matches sort of fall under the umbrella of Extreme Rules. It's consistent with the theme of the show. And I think that is in a small way indicative of the bigger picture, greater coherence that the shows week to week are being booked with.
Yep. No doubt about it. So we've sort of been starting these shows off the last few Tuesdays with sort of a random question before we jump into the shows. This is a WWE show. Our Thursday shows become a pretty heavy AEW show. We do touch on like the other promotions too. Are you following anything other than the main two? Are you either through online or just through Twitter keeping up with like NWA or New Japan more than sort of we all were by going to Capital Collision over the summer? Are you following? A lot of NWA came across my feed this afternoon, and I've always paid attention to it a bit from afar. It had a better product, I think, when it was on YouTube last year regularly. But are you following the NWA product at all? They do NWA Power on Tuesdays.
I have seen, out of curiosity, NWA Power when they first started doing it at the beginning, back when Eli Drake, who I'm sure we'll talk about later, was one of the key stars of that promotion. I haven't watched it recently. I would say that I'm vaguely aware, that would probably be the right phrase, of wrestling promotions outside of WWE and AEW. I certainly, as we talked about back when they came to DC, I probably knew something like, had heard of half the names of the New Japan guys that were on that card. So that's about the level of my understanding or awareness. I would say it's somewhere around my level of awareness of like the NHL. Maybe a little below the NHL. Like I don't really watch the NHL. I'm aware of it. I know who some of the top players are.
That's right.
I could probably name all the teams, but I don't really follow it closely.
That's a good analogy. I probably know more about NWA right now than I do the NHL. But yes, I can name all the teams too. Do you know who the current NWA World Champion is?
Oh boy, I could guess, but no. The answer is no.
A former WWE talent.
Oh, it's not Matt Cardona, is it? Is it Matt Cardona?
It was Matt Cardona. Yeah. It's not anymore. This guy actually won the title from Matt Cardona. This guy is currently in a feud with another former WWE talent.
I like this is just quickly transitioned into a game show.
This good. Well, our man Ali's here to play too. Ali, how you doing, bud?
I'm living the dream, man. I'm living
That's
the
great.
dream.
You caught us in the middle of the random question I like to throw out before we get into WWE is, are you watching outside of WWE and AEW? Are you keeping up with like NWA at all, or Impact to it, or New Japan more than we sort of talk about last with it going to Capital Collision over the summer? NWA specific.
Yeah, I watched some Nick Aldis promos and things, but no, I haven't really been keeping up with NWA.
The question I asked Tom was, do you know who the current NWA World Champion is?
To which I responded, is it Matt Cardona? And Elliot was like, no, but he took the title off of Matt Cardona.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was so funny. I was just looking this up a few days ago because I was like, Nick Aldis isn't the champ anymore. Who's the champ? And I cannot remember this person's name.
So this guy won it from a former WWE star, Matt Cardona. He's in a feud right now with another former WWE star. Remember, he's Tyrus in WWE, but the
Funkasaurus.
The Funkasaurus, thank you. Yeah. The Fox News contributor. Brodus Clay. That's right. Tyrus is the world television champion and is feuding with this guy. Okay, so you might not even remember the name. The current NWA world champion in his second reign is Trevor Murdoch.
Oh, of course. Yeah, Trevor Murdoch. He was in the tag team with Lance Cade, RIP.
Exactly.
Yeah, I remember them.
Yep. In between that stint and his run now, he did like 7 years as like a fiber optic installer. He was at a wrestling for a while.
That's awesome.
Kind of came back, and he is sort of cut from that Dusty Rhodes mold. So he's been a good steward of the title from as much as I've been sort of paying attention, which has mostly been through Twitter. So yeah, there's your trivia of the day for you guys. Trevor Murdoch, 2-time.
Twitter is real life. Don't believe what they say. It's real life.
SmackDown this past Friday emanated from our neighbors to the north, Winnipeg, on September 30th. When you hear the name Winnipeg, does it take you back to any specific WWE moment involving Chris Jericho? You know what I'm talking about? You guys have never seen the clip that was taken, filmed from ringside?
Yeah, I forget what the person says to him, but he responded, I'm from Winnipeg, you moron, or whatever he says. But I can't remember what the fan said. Jericho
and the Big Show had spilled out by the announcer's table, and someone says, "Go back to Toronto, Chris." And he sort of looks back and says, "I'm from Winnipeg, you idiot." And Big Show has to stop from busting out laughing. So whenever I hear Winnipeg, that's what I think of. They kicked off SmackDown with what's been sort of the A block feature of the last several weeks, as it should have been, and that's Sami Zayn and the Bloodline. Everyone came out except for Roman Reigns. They took on Ricochet and Moss. This was sort of picking up from last week where those two had a confrontation backstage. We're a week away from Extreme Rules. They're not going to really kick in any new storylines. They're not going to really do anything particularly dazzling outside of their normal excellent production. So these SmackDown and Raw did feel a bit like, no one say blah, but maybe meh to me. But I knew that I wasn't going to get my socks blown off because they're saving it for a week from now. But credit to the guys in the ring; they put on a great match. The match was what it was. Bloodline went over. There was the normal shenanigans. But talk to me each about what you thought of the backstage confrontation where Jay, got in Sami's face. There was a follow-up on Raw, which we'll get to also. But this first of two that we'll talk about, this Jay Sami thing, it's going to boil over. And I want to hear from you guys what you think and how it's going to boil over. Let's start with TG.
I love everything about this story. I think that it's a testament to how effective it is in terms of storytelling that they are taking Sami Zayn, who was one of the more over heels on the roster when he was the, conspiracy theorist and all that stuff. And rightfully so. I mean, he was a very, very good heel. And they are getting him over as a face now because of the position he's in. I think they're doing a tremendous job with it. One of my favorite things that I've seen, I think I mentioned this last week, one of the favorite things I've seen on WWE television in a while was just during that segment on SmackDown last week, watching how mad Jey Uso gets anytime a member of the Bloodline praises or acts friendly towards Sami Zayn. I love it. It's fantastic.
Ali, what you got?
I'm loving it, and I feel like Sami Zayn's dancing has gotten even better. And yeah, I love all the subtle story. And this is one where I'm not sure where it's going. Like, obviously, there's going to be tension between Sammy and Jay, and I have no idea. Does Jay become a face as he tries to get a go against the bloodline because of Sammy? Does it's I don't know where this is going, but I'm intrigued and I'm definitely looking forward to it. For the rest of the show, and I know we'll get to it later, but yeah, it's funny you said that you thought it was a blah show, and I was watching it thinking, this is much better than I remember it being. But again, my bar is so low.
That's right. I watched and appreciated, for the purposes just for this show, I'm kind of like watching basically it start to finish on most times and mostly live, which I wasn't doing for a long time. It was easy enough to read the results or anything. But yeah, credit where credit is due. This product is and as shown Monday, they're giving women lots of time now. They're feeling more than they were before. Basic coherence. It's a premium.
Coherent. Yeah. That's the word that I used before you joined, Ali. The biggest difference between WWE now and WWE 6 months ago or 12 months ago is the week-to-week coherence of their storytelling and their angles. And it's obviously a significant improvement versus what it was.
It really makes you think, like, I mean, from everything we ever heard from behind the curtain, like, those shows were being torn up day of and rewritten, seemingly on the whims of an elderly man. So, that's not the best recipe in the world. And maybe all that is true because we're seeing what looks to be a very coherent show week to week. Another storyline that's sort of moving week to week has been Austin Theory, who's not getting lost in everything. He's making appearances. He's got that briefcase, but he seemingly is involved in a couple of things. Called out Drew McIntyre on Friday. Drew came up right behind him, challenged him to a match. The match ended in a DQ when Alpha Academy stormed the ring. And unlike Monday, a different person came in to help save McIntyre, and that was Johnny Gargano, followed by KO. KO is going to he's over huge right now. Anytime he's in Canada, he's going to get super love. So that was probably done by design. There was a scrum. Those guys will all face off.
Taking advantage of a natural baby face.
Exactly. So we'll get to their match at the end of the show. But McIntyre, where's McIntyre going right now? What's the immediate plan for him?
I don't know. Theory was doing really well, and this whole segment, I really struggled because of Corey Graves. I don't know if you guys noticed it, but like, I could not unhear him. He was like so obnoxiously. Maybe it was just me. Maybe I was in a bad mood. But
you're hearing a lot more of him because you're getting him for all 5 hours of programming.
Much. Like, I was like, can Corey just shut up for a minute so I can pay attention to what's going on here? And
I also think that part of the way that SmackDown played out was a result of the fact that you had certain talent who couldn't participate in the show because of the hurricane.
That's right.
And so to me, SmackDown, I think this week was reminiscent of like a house show style booking where you have the 6-man tag main event where the guys aren't really like the teams aren't really connected in any way. It's just like, let's throw these guys together. And like you said, Elliot, I mean, they're in Canada. Let's put KO on the face side and blah, et cetera. I think that as far as McIntyre goes, and to go back to Austin Theory, kind of the same thing. I think that we all sort of acknowledge that I don't think it's a dramatically different list with a couple of exceptions, but there are guys that Vince McMahon was really high on and really liked and really wanted to push. And there are guys that Triple H maybe wants to prioritize now over those guys. And I think that in both the case of McIntyre and probably even to a greater extent Austin Theory, I think you have examples of those guys, which is why they seem to be a little bit unmoored right now, maybe. But I will say, I think in the case of McIntyre, there was always going to be some of that following Clash of the Castle, because once Clash of the Castle was on the calendar, it's like we got, not putting him in the main event would be crazy. And then following that, there was probably going to be somewhat of a letdown storyline wise. But to go back to Austin Theory now, I think is really in that category of doesn't even seem like a threat to cash in. Like they've established him as like he tries to cash in and doesn't even get to like he's not even a guy like, oh, he's going to cash in and fail. It's like he can't even complete the act of cashing in. That's how sort of impotent he is as a character right now. I do think that's going to change, but I think it's going to take a while. And I will say there's a real opportunity here because of that perception to do something really interesting with him, because it's one of those, not to quote Vince McMahon, but expect the unexpected. Like just when you think Austin Theory is like has fallen down the card, then all of a sudden he is mixed up in the main event scene or cashes in.
Comes out of nowhere, pal.
He would feel honestly out of place if in some Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, potential Rock,
Bray Wyatt,
whatever Bray Wyatt
right.
cabal he's making, like that would be weird. Then if they somehow trying to pull off something like Rollins did a few years ago at WrestleMania with Roman, and that wouldn't feel the same. That wouldn't be as good as you're currently presenting Austin Theory.
Agreed.
Yeah. I sent you all this message when I saw it Friday. If Hit Row versus Los Lotharios is your third segment, that's the slot they're going to be in. That wasn't a result of Hurricane Ian. That wasn't a result of someone not there. They're filling time. Credit for them for going out there and doing it. But those certainly Hit Row who has come back. I hope they're enjoying themselves. They're not going to be in any sort of title plans soon. They're spot fillers, but there have always been spot fillers in wrestling. There's nothing wrong with that. They're tremendous athletes, but we all want more for them because I like their act. Moving on, we're kind of grinding. We had a real good, robust debate last week about the benefits of using Liv as the almost pseudo heel in this women's match. Ronda Rousey came out versus Natalya. They had a match. Ronda wins. Ronda's been back now a year, and I've never been sort of particularly high on her other than some of her, finishing moves, her submission moves. We've given her a year. She hasn't gotten any better at wrestling, but do we need her to be? Is she going to, I think she's going to, it feels like now she might take the title off of Liv and send Liv in a heel direction somewhere. But Liv came out and stared her down. Like, I think they've built this as best as they can. They're going to have a match. I think Ronda's going to probably win, but if we'll move on, if y'all don't have any other thoughts other than generally agreeing with that, I'm ready for whatever they're going to present next. If honestly Ronda wins, I will probably follow more about Liv's redemption story than Ronda's title reign. Agreed? Maybe. Y'all like Ronda probably more than I do.
Yeah, I've said this before in the past. I don't know why I'm not more into Ronda Rousey. She's a huge star, and she has so many positives. And then she'll just do like her makeup. I don't understand why it's like every now, like she looks fine, and then randomly she'll put on this like really aggressive anime makeup, and I'm like, what? It clashes so much with her gimmick and character and everything. But this run I've enjoyed more than the others. I don't know. They just did not do well with Liv as a babyface, and then like this sort of, oh, well, we're going to make her a heel just feels kind of lazy to me because she really feels like a more natural babyface, and Ronda is better as a heel. I don't know.
I agree. One thing that WWE hasn't gotten a handle on in the months since Vince departed, and again, there's long runway here. They don't have to do everything at once. But we've talked about this. To my mind, there are several people on the roster who are so clearly either a heel or a face, and they have them doing the opposite role. And I'm like, why? Why? Just let it happen. Let Alexa Bliss be a heel. Why would you do this? And I think in the case of Liv, I agree. I think she's a natural face. I will say that I think that this has kind of run its course, like the feel-good underdog. I just don't think I think she's popular, but I don't think this manifestation of the character is I think it needs change. And so what I'll say about this weekend is I'm actually more, to the extent you can be certain about wrestling stories, I'm more certain about a heel change, a heel turn, I should say, than I am about a title change. Like I could see them doing like her turning heel and this being Extreme Rules type event. gives Ronda cover to lose again. Having said that, I could also see them doing a title switch. And like you said, Elliot, like she wins the title back and then Liv goes crazy and, you know, turns heel or whatever. I do think Liv is going to turn. I think Ronda is going to stay a face-ish tweener, and they'll go from there no matter who has the title.
Yeah, I message to Triple H. I know he watches the show every week. As soon as next Friday, or for the SmackDown show, let's get Ronda versus Shayna. Not that they're the two most dynamic people, but I want to see two badasses go at it. I think that'd be the sort of the female version of Riddle and Rollins right now. Let those two just, I love it. So give me some Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. And also, as I'm fantasy booking this new family that Bray Wyatt's going to have when he shows up, Liv Morgan will be a great addition to it. Nikki Cross better somehow get involved. There's my 2 cents for Triple H. I think those are two girls that have been able to pull off crazy in a pretty decent way. Much like sort of like, the Daphnes back in the day and the Luna Vachons and Nikki and Liv can each do that just the way I thought, if they had actually added a Sister Abigail, like Paige could have pulled off that crazy really well. Okay. So as they go to commercial, KO's walking down the hallway, sees Sammy sitting there despondent, and he gives maybe the line of the night, need a new shirt, buddy. That was great. I guarantee you, here's the thing. No one handed him that script. That probably wasn't ad-libbed, but that was that was Triple H saying, you guys just do something. That was the extent of the plan, which is, another probably positive outcome. Really great sort of from the heart line. Anytime you hear the audience laugh in a backstage segment, it goes over. You like that. What do we have next? Imperium came out, started cutting their promo, interrupted by Sheamus. What are you more excited about? Are you more excited about this 6-man match or the Sheamus Walt Gunther match Monday on? Is it Monday on Raw? Yeah, they're doing it. That Raw is Monday.
Are they doing it on Raw or are they doing it on the season premiere of SmackDown?
I guess both shows have season premieres next week. So it must be the SmackDown show.
Because it's they might be doing it on Raw. It's hard to keep track, but it is a SmackDown title.
Raw. The Raw co-main event is Lashley and Riddle. So that's going to be Monday. Yeah. And then So what are you looking more forward to? The 6-man where we see them all go at it, or we see a repeat of Clash of the Castle, which Meltzer gave 5 stars. We gave 5 stars. Thought it was great. What do you think, Ali?
I've really enjoyed their 6-mans and their tag team matches. I think seeing Butch/Pete Dunne really sort of let loose and kind of be a little bit of AEW in WWE, and I've really enjoyed it. And I love Sheamus. This might be one of his best runs.
Agreed.
But I'm definitely enjoying the dynamic of all of them in the ring, so that's what I'm looking forward to more.
What about you, TJ?
I like him. Looking forward to both, but I'll tell you why it's the 6-man. The Sheamus Walter match that we saw at Clash of the Castle was outstanding, and I'm sure the rematch will be outstanding as well. But the only other time that we saw the 6-man configuration, they did something very strategic, and at the time it was like irritating, but I get it. Which was, if you remember, the way they did that, as soon as there was the tag to Sheamus and Walter, they went to Gunther. Sorry, now you got me all twisted around.
It's Gunther. It's Gunther in all caps, like Walter now. Yeah.
So, as soon as they tagged those guys in, they went to commercial, and that was just like such a tease. And I'm like, okay, all right, but now we get the payoff, and so I think that that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, there's going to be, just the fact that in the next 2 weeks, we're going to see those guys together individually. We'll get to Rob. I think the title's going to change. I think a lot of titles are going to change in the next 2 weeks. I think with a big Brooklyn pay-per-view and these season premieres that they don't get announced like this every year, but they've done it in the past.
They have. And it's interesting, real quick sidebar. I've noticed like certain wrestling, journalists or whatever are sort of like poking fun or like acting like, oh, season premiere, there's no such thing. And I'm like, I get it, but like they've done this before. This
Yeah,
is not the first time that they have promoted something as a season premiere. So I don't know why they're acting like this is the most ridiculous thing ever when it's been done many times in the past. So anyway.
Right. In the first of a lot of damage control over these two shows, Bailey beat Shotzi. It's fine. What I was excited about as far as this segment goes is another Triple H thumbprint letting Shotzi have her tank back. We might get her last name back, because a lot of other guys have gotten their names back. But seeing Shotzi get time, a good character, a developing talent, she can hold her own out there. And she was involved, as they all sort of are, in that angle. So Bailey went over, but good to see Shotzi getting her tank back, getting her original gimmick back. Let's keep moving because we got a lot of damage control to talk about for Monday. So throughout this show, Maximum Male Models was attempting to set a Canadian record for the longest pose. I think they got down to 3 before Mansoor got shoulder tackled by Max Dupree. He broke it up.
It's Mansoor, please.
Honestly did. I said Mansoor because I didn't know how to pronounce Mansoor, and is it
Marseille?
Well, we'll see what they will be. Apparently, those guys moving forward because Maximum Male Model looks to be led no longer by Max Dupree, but his sister Maxine Dupree.
Sister Maxine.
But what we've been waiting for is it seemed to have now officially happened, but we're still waiting for the official turn. He took off the M belt, ended by walking away saying, yeah. So it's all confirmation. It's happening. What is he going to feud with those guys first, or is he done with those and is LA Knight? Who does LA Knight target first? Give me your just predictions of like what LA Knight does after this pay-per-view, after maybe whatever. He's not going to still yutz around with these guys for a few more weeks, I hope, if he's LA Knight. LA Knight has his sights on big things. Who's his first feud going to be with?
That's a great question. I agree with you. I don't think he'll cut a return promo where he maybe alludes to leaving Maximum Male Models, but he's not going to. Doesn't have a tag. They'll mix him up with those guys. I mean, I don't know. Maybe his first match back, he might wrestle those guys or something. But yeah, his first feud. I mean, the first thing that popped in my head was once Sheamus and Gunther, I have to actually stop and think, are done with their issue. Maybe he takes on, Gunther. I don't know. I think that's a good clash, and whether it's for the Intercontinental Championship, if Gunther still has it or Sheamus has it, whatever. Mm-hmm. I think that could be an interesting sort of confrontation, but I don't know.
Ali, got any thoughts, guesses?
The Miz.
That's the first name that I thought of too. Like,
interesting.
I don't know where that's going to have conflict with Loomis, but they both have to have that sort of LA Hollywood character now. So a King of Hollywood match. Oh my God, I'm already.
Well, it's funny because I was just assuming that he would stay on SmackDown, but it actually makes more sense for him to go to Raw and completely dissociate from Maximum Male Models.
Could be. We've also mentioned I think there's still plans for a draft at some point, so a lot can still happen. Getting into that, Gargano sort of thing. Anywhere. Any of those work. He can work with any of those guys anywhere. But Miz was also a name that sort of first popped in. But depends how this is going to play out with Loomis and whatever. So I think we're all generally agree we're looking forward to LA Knight cutting great promos, and he can still go in the ring too. The SmackDown concluded with the 6-man tag of the Theory and Alpha Academy, McIntyre, Gargano, and Kevin Owens. It went the way we expected it to. The good guys go over. Otis, I kind of shit on Otis last week a little bit, calling him not charismatic. And it takes a big man to admit when he's wrong. I am not a big man, but Otis is. I am not a huge Chad Gable guy, even though I respect him, I appreciate him. That sort of like wrestling, that particular kind of wrestling character is not my favorite thing in the world. but Otis by being just a heavy right now, I think is doing some cool work right now. Both the guys are doing work. 6 pros in the ring. Good way to finish it. Sent the crowd home happy. And SmackDown goes dark. Overall, like I said, I thought it was a fairly sort of mediocre show, but I wasn't expecting anything big to happen on the way toward Extreme Rules.
This was the Braun Strowman match, right?
Braun was out on Monday Night Raw. He didn't appear on SmackDown this week. This was the sort of thrown together, like, the house show dark match that often happens. So yeah, SmackDown, good show. Like it did over 2 million. SmackDown's got a 2 in front of their number like every week now for the last few weeks. So, that's, is like 2.1, 2.2. Tom, you might be better than this. Like, is that a number they should be happy with? Are they still looking for something north of 2.5 ideally?
I mean, it's just that the landscape of not only pro wrestling, but also just television entertainment has changed so much in the last 5 years that it's hard to really, I mean, and this is one thing where AEW, the existence of AEW has been important from an industry standpoint, because when WWE was just competing against itself, you would see stuff like, well, this is, this rating is 20% lower than it was 2 years ago. And it's like, but everybody's streaming now. Everybody's, it's not analogous. It's not an apples to apples comparison to 10, 15 years ago. Even post Attitude Era, it's not analogous. I think anything north of 2 million, Fox is reasonably happy. And I think on USA, anything north of probably 1.5, they're ecstatic. So, and in AEW's case, if they break 1 million, they're ecstatic. So
yeah,
I think SmackDown right now, they've got to be happy with where they are, because it's the year-over-year stuff is probably the most important metric for them, and they're up, significantly versus this time last year. So,
over the weekend during the wasn't the NASCAR race? Yeah, it was during the NASCAR race on NBC. I was seeing Raw promos for the USA, which is part of the AMC network. And, when earlier in the season, when NASCAR was on Fox, because they split the season, Fox, and you saw a lot of SmackDown stuff. So SmackDown gets the rub from major sports now by being just a part of that Fox USA, Fox and NBC. Like, that's the family to be in. Raw took place, they were back in the States. They were in St. Paul, Minnesota. Like, is there a better, that's one of your top, old time wrestling towns. The territory of St. Paul, Minnesota is just classic wrestling. It's where Flair and Hogan and all those guys came in that Minneapolis, St. Paul area. They got right to it with the Judgment Day. Our Jennifer the Judgment Day. Finn Balor is one of my favorite performers over the last 15 years. When he made his debut in NXT with Hideo Itami, who Kenta, that gave me shivers. That was so cool, because I read about him in the Indies. He was the best guy not in WWE. I guess sort of akin to your Zack Sabres or your Will Ospreys. That was him. Now he's leading this group, Judgment Day. Guess what? Shocking news. They took on Rey Mysterio and somebody else. This time it was AJ Styles, another probably top 5 wrestler of the past 25 years. So, Judgment Day gets the win. Dom gets in front of his dad, says he hates him. That felt a little much, This isn't really captivating me. I just don't.
Late 90s punk rock. I hate you, Dad.
I hate you, Dad. He looks like, I
told you that joke. Someone on the internet said that every time they see Dominic Mysterio, reminds them of a sad waiter at the Olive Garden.
And it's the black on black with the sort of slick back black mullet. Yes, right. That yes, more pepper. That's him. Dom's giving his all out there. Good for them. Thank God he's got Rhea with him.
He gets heat though, so much heat.
He does.
But he was the only one getting heat. The crowd was a little quiet last night. I think the crowd just wants to either see. They need to see. I mean, I think they're all saying, "Ray, hit your son." And that's the one thing he's not going to do. He will eventually. He's got to. This is where it's going. I just don't see anywhere now why this involves the Judgment Day. What do they get out of it? So,
Yeah, it's like either pull the trigger or separate them completely. Like stop the Ray stuff. If you want to push Dom, make Dom his own thing, then stop with the Ray stuff.
Okay, so here's just the question I have about this, and Tom, I'll let you go first, and then you want to say something else about it. But like, okay, the only thing I left sort of with that first segment was, is who's going to join the Judgment Day, AJ or Ray, or neither?
I hope the answer is neither, because I think that, again, as we've talked about, the Judgment Day should be a faction for people who are sort of mid-carders with potential. And you know, I wouldn't include Dom in that category, although he is over as a heel. But, you know, like a Rhea Ripley, like a Damian Priest, I hate to call Finn a mid-carder, but let's be honest. I mean, that's what he was at that point when he joined the Judgment Day. So I hope the answer is neither. I think it's more likely, if they're going to do it with one of those guys, that it would be AJ, just storyline wise, because it's like, see, you didn't, you know, we didn't support, you didn't have us support you, you lost, and now we beat you up and blah, blah, blah. But I hope that doesn't happen. I think the thing I was going to say before was, I think now, and again, this is, you know, maybe something about Triple H maybe you guys aren't a fan of. I think they're really committing to the Judgment Day more. And I think that when they removed Edge from it, that was kind of a signal like, oh, this is going to be, they're going to be mid-carders for a while, job to really, you know, the top tier people, and then break up probably. Well, now, I mean, they're, you know, they went over basically clean over AJ in the tag match. Pretty dominant win. They won last week as well. I think, you know, last week I said, oh, I don't think Edge is, like, how could Edge lose an I Quit match against Finn Balor? Like, that's not going to happen. And now I'm like, I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, they seem to really want to push the Judgment Day, at least at this, like, semi-main level. I mean, there's Seg 1. Well, think about what's Seg 1 on SmackDown, the Bloodline. What's Seg 1 on Raw, the Judgment Day. And I'm not saying those two things are equivalent. Don't get me wrong, but the point is they are being placed deliberately in a place of prominence on the show, and they are winning matches now, which is something that wasn't happening a couple of months ago. So, you know, we'll see. But
there were some reports during the week that WWE has big plans for Finn Balor. So he appears to be someone who they, you know, and if they do that, great. But like, what are you talking about? Is he going to be the one who takes Roman eventually? Is he going to be the one? I mean, I don't know, but. I want some top level main event Finn Balor, but
he's been burned too much. They threw him at Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar ate him. They've thrown him at Roman Reigns. I don't know if it's possible. I don't know that. I mean, look, they can book anything, right?
Sure,
but like convincingly, I would love to see it, but I don't see. There's no way they're going to make him the guy who takes out Roman Reigns.
No,
you can't.
But here's the thing: the Judgment Day has built this familia. They've taken Priest. What have they done? They haven't even finished off Edge yet. They're messing with AJ now. They've been messing with Ray. Have they? Who else are they going to go around judging people and beating? I mean, is that the plan? Like
literal judgment.
Who have they judged? I guess who have they judged so far? Except
show up like shaking their
except
heads.
Ray for being not worthy. They're just trying to recruit people. Like. If you're going to feature, are they trying to like? But like, who do they want to set their sights on? To it would be the Bloodline, I would think. But you know,
maybe they're only going to judge talent that are like 2 years away from retiring. So starting with AJ.
Cheech just brought up a point that I was going to make, which is I think, you know, to your point, Ali, they can do whatever they want booking wise, but the fact that they made the choice they did when the Demon wrestled Roman and they just had the mysterious rope break.
God's rope break that saved Roman Reigns.
Yeah, so exactly. So with the idea, I'm sure on paper what they were thinking was, we got to protect the Demon, but we got to protect Roman too. So how do we get out of this? And that's what they came up with. And then when they did it, I'm sure even they backstage were like, oh, what a mistake. This is such a bad idea. So that is going to require some character, you know, rehab to make him into a threat again. But I'll say this. I'll go out on a limb and make this prediction. I do think they're going to push Finn. I do think they're going to push the Judgment Day. In terms of him being the one who takes the title off of Roman, while I do not think this is going to happen, I want to be clear. I think this is an outlier scenario. Finn Balor does not have as good of a chance to be the one who takes the title off Roman as Sami Zayn does. Story-wise, there is a much clearer path in my mind to have that happen, as unlikely as I think it is, than it would be to have Finn suddenly have his character rehabilitated, have a rematch against Roman at some point 6 months from now or whatever, and win.
I see what you're talking about. If this was February, like I think I could see that more. Like we just have a long way to go, and like a lot can still happen. Like they might not have they might have a few different avenues they could go depending on if it's crowd reaction, merch. Well, who knows what's going to happen? Injuries, obviously, but Rock's plans, clearly. Right. But like,
that to me is the biggest thing.
I get what you're saying. The Bloodlines really been doing double duty on Friday and Mondays. There was a quick backstage bit. Sammy is cracking jokes. Jimmy is going along. At one moment, Sikoa even corpses a little bit at what Sammy was doing, and just Jay comes in pissed off. I bring that up just because Sammy continues to do great work, and now he's getting Solo to crack up and stuff like that. So yeah, Bloodlines is they should be. They're appearing on both shows a lot. So interesting. This was not on my bingo card. Lashley walking down the hallway, getting approached by the namesake here, Ali. New hair. Take your hat off. Are you sporting the hairstyle? No. So I think this could have been a case of like, hey, there's Ali and Lashley. These guys are, even though Lashley's champ, we're not really doing anything with these guys. Let's put them together. I'm glad they did. That was a fun match. Ali rarely gets on anymore, but he makes the most of his opportunities. And I'm really happy with the way they booked it at the end with Lashley, showing respect. Lashley even put out a tweet later in the night with the two of them bumping fists after the show, basically giving respect. So that was a fun segment. Lashley looks so good right now. He's so huge. He's lost a little. He's lost a little bit of shine, and now he seems like he might be fed to Seth Rollins next week. Thoughts on Lashley right now? If you want to get a thought on Ali, go ahead. I'm going to let Ali take it, not just because we're talking about his namesake, but also I know Ali's got to log off in a few minutes. So take what you want to talk about this, and then give me one more take for the rest of your thoughts, and then we'll let you jump.
Yeah, I know that Lashley's getting up there in age, but he still looks so good, and he's, in terms of his appeal, he's so hot. I really think that it's a waste not to pull the trigger and have him one more big run, either with a big storyline or a title or something, a main title.
Victim of a unified championship.
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't be against the idea of him taking the title off of Roman. I think they could have a really good program. I know they've already done a few things, but I think that's a good idea. For Ali, I've been a huge fan of Mustafa Ali for a long, long time. And then, when he finally got, I was shocked he got picked up for 205 Live?
205, yeah.
And there was a time when he was getting really hot, and then they just messed him up. So I'm glad that they're picking him back up, because his wrestling style is really good insert into middle of the program for WWE, because his wrestling style is really fast. It's really exciting. It can help kind of pick up the energy before you get into long promos, right? I just think he fits really well, and he kind of has natural charisma, although he's not the best on the mic.
Give me Ali, before you head out, give me one lock for Extreme Rules, and then give me something that happens the night after or on that Monday Raw that you're expecting to see.
Dexter Loomis kidnaps the Miz's children. And then,
wow, that escalated quickly. Okay.
And then the twist is that Maurice leaves him. That's my
wow. So Raw is going to open Monday in it's like a nursery scene from the 50s. Maurice and Dexter, the kids are in a little thing, and just Dexter's sitting there just stroking her hair.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. I would love it if I saw that Monday. That would be great. We'll go live post-show podcast. That's great. Ali, you're welcome anytime, man. We really appreciate you. I love all the insight. With you both here for a minute, I want to say, here's what we do. We don't do a lot of talking about dirt sheet speculation. We either come up with it all on our own, like me going down this path of what I think of the Broadway family. So I like that this show is really just like our takes and not some level of regurgitation of rumors. I like this as a rumor-free show. So respect to you both. We've done this for a month now. This is show number 4, and we'll just keep it rolling. So Tom, TG, and I will keep it rolling. Ali, my man, I appreciate you.
Peace out, guys.
We'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. So, Lashley, let him. I think he's like a heavyweight version of Ali. You can get him in anywhere. He's going to give you a great match. You can get over. He can be a heel at the drop of a hat if he needs to. He really is an all-purpose worker,
Yeah, it's interesting. We have alluded to this in the past, but it's strange to me that there has been really no particular story for Lashley for a while he's held a championship.
And he's issued these open challenges, and I guess he has, but it hasn't been consistent enough, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he's not really involved in a story. I mean, even this thing with Seth Rollins is sort of ancillary to Seth and Riddle's. Like the program that Seth is in is a feud with Matt Riddle, like a very personal, blood feud. And so I think that one of two things is happening. Either they have been holding off on putting Lashley in a program because they do have like a big plan for him down the road, and they just want to have enough of the spotlight available to focus on that. Or again, it is possible that he is a quote unquote Vince guy, and Triple H, I think, sees the value of Lashley, but isn't as invested in Lashley as he is in somebody like Johnny Gargano or someone like that, who he really
Karrion Kross, something like that.
Yeah. Karrion Kross, right? Exactly. And I think Ali. It's interesting with Ali because there's been sort of this back and forth with Ali over the last however many years. It's been 5 years. Where it's like, we definitely see something in him. Here's a little push, and then kind of the rug gets pulled out, and then it's the old, Lucy with the football, Charlie Brown metaphor. But I think the difference now is, again, more coherent storytelling and booking week to week. And so I think that him being sort of on the road to character rehabilitation now, I think is much more likely to stick. I don't think he's going to be, of course, I'm not saying he's going to be a main event guy, but I do think that he's going to find a place on the card, as Ali said, that is really going to be valuable and helpful to the company and the shows, and make the shows better through his great work. So I'm excited to see what the future holds for him as well.
That, or he'll join his former Retribution partner and become the third member of Maximum Male Models.
Look, if you want me to be unhappy about anyone joining Maximum Male Models, you're barking up the wrong tree.
He's Mustafa Ole. I think that's what we're gonna get, something like that. Let's hope not. Okay, so at the end of the match with Ali and Lashley, Riddle came out, curb stomped them both. Seemingly for Lashley to give him a warning for next week, but Ali, I guess, just because he was there. And then Riddle came out and they had their non-physical confrontation. I think they inserted that little stipulation so people can just get hyped up for the actual fight pit brawl we're going to see Saturday. I literally thought this feud ended a few weeks ago. It hasn't, but this appears to be the blow off because Rollins has a U.S. title match on Monday, which by all accounts, it feels like he's going to have a victory in that. So, the work's been good with those two. I think it's elevated in both. I think Riddle's done as good as he's able to do in the absence of Randy Orton. But he is using that Randy Orton rub, and deservedly so. He got over great with him. But I'm kind of ready for the next step for Rollins. I'm a big Rollins guy. I like what he's doing. So yeah, these guys are gonna go one more time. Fight Pit, Daniel Cormier, cool. They've done it before. They did it in NXT, I believe. But I'm be always curious to see what WWE's take on mixed martial arts is. What do you think?
Yeah, and this is not a joke, but as a non-NXT watcher, I was completely oblivious to the fact that this is a match that they've done before. I was when they announced Fight Pit match, I was what does that mean? What is it? Is it going to be like sort of a simulated type of UFC type thing. I didn't know. And then they showed the clips of it and I was like, oh, okay. This kind of makes sense. I get it. So it is sort of a simulated UFC type thing.
It's like a mini Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, exactly.
Mini elimination chamber. There you go.
Yes, without the roof, right? I have some sort of questions about some of the things around this match. Like I think the big one, and this is not like some insight, but is the fact that Daniel Cormier is now affiliated in some way with WWE. Is that suggestive of the possibility of a Brock Lesnar return? Very likely as a heel, because Cormier is a natural face.
Okay.
I really thought, a couple of years ago, I really thought if they could have worked it out behind the scenes, that they were going to do, because Paul Heyman would come out and cut these promos back when Brock was the Beast. He would cut these promos about like Brock maybe leaving WWE or taking the titles to UFC and unifying it with the UFC Heavyweight Championship and all this stuff, which of course is like fantasy. Like fans are salivating at the prospect of even someone like trying to do that. But I'm wondering now if they're gonna, pull the trigger on some kind of Cormier Brock something. Maybe not, and maybe if they do, even if they do it, maybe it wouldn't be set up at this because of the role that he's playing and the match type. But the other question I have is, as you just said, Seth has a title match on Monday. Now, presumably, an Extreme Rules type event with this kind of match is kayfabe going to take a lot out of you. So it's just weird to me that
loser has to be either submit or tapped out. Yeah,
right. And whether he wins or maybe this is a way to give have Seth win on Saturday and then on Monday. And sort of an out for Seth, because Seth has lost a bunch. He got beat in 3 high-profile matches against Cody Rhodes in a row, and that is for him to still be where he is. I think, put it this way, the proof that he's one of the very best that WWE has to offer as a performer is that he could absorb 3 high-profile losses in a row to the same guy and not really lose very much momentum. And I say that as somebody, maybe this is an unpopular opinion. I think he is great as a performer just in general. This particular character is not my favorite version of him. And the reason is because, I like sort of, it doesn't have to be real. Don't get me wrong. I'm a huge fan of Maximum Male Models, but it seems a little unnatural for it's definitely a very affected character. It's a very sort of not quite a smooth transition from so that's why, by the way, I loved so much when he did the interview, the sit down sort of back and forth with Riddle a few weeks ago. He sort of broke character when he started to hit him on his family. And I was like, oh, now I'm all in on this. Cause that's like very real and it comes across as very authentic. Whereas sort of is he like the Joker from 3 years ago? Like that kind of stuff it's interesting. It's fine, but not my favorite version of Seth, just personally. I guess he probably wins Sunday or Saturday, I presume. Cause if he loses Saturday and then, doesn't win on Monday, even Seth, I'm like, at this point, like, what are we doing with him? Like, he can't lose every high profile match he has. So
that would also, I think, really cut into Lashley too, if that happens also.
Yeah. If Seth loses Saturday, he definitely wins the title on Monday somehow. I think
you're probably right. I think he might run the table on both, which again wouldn't be great for Riddle losing a fight pit match. He's a fight pit specialist, so I'm it's kind of curious, but it's only a couple days away, so we'll see. So what happened next? Okay, so Miz was on the phone with his wife. Loomis peers from behind. It's so great. It moves on. It does that. So then now we get to what was a show that I think was largely dominated, almost a little bit too much with Damage Control. Candice LeRae. First thing that happened. Did we get to this yet? No, yeah. First, LeRae took the loss to Dakota Kai. Little unexpected. I think it's okay when those two women might lose individually, as long as they're not losing as a tag team, because of the champs right now. But losing individually, I'm okay with. But LeRae took a clean pin. A little bit of interference, of course, but she made her debut last week with a win over Nikki Cross. Turns around and lose, but Candice LeRae is a great worker. Wrestlers win and lose all the time. That's fine. Before her husband came out, he walked past I must have missed something. Tell me what I
don't think you missed anything.
So I did miss something, and here's where you can fill in the gap. When I sort of like turned to look, I was like watching my phone. Gargano was turning around, and Miz was laying by himself on the board. Yeah. What was Loomis there a second before?
I had the same experience you did, and it is possible, because I do fast forward through commercials. It's possible that I missed something at the beginning of a commercial, end of a commercial break, or when they first came back. But I think they just opened on, like, that whole scene was Miz. I don't want to say inexplicably, but like off screen was choked out, and then woke up with like this drawing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if Mark saw it, our producer, if Cheat saw it, tell us he filled in it. But I literally thought I saw something on Twitter where, like, as Gargano's coming down the aisle, and Miz first comes in the frame, he's in Loomis's lap, cradling him.
Oh, really?
Gargano walks far enough to like get them out of the shot, and when he turns around, it's just the Miz.
That would make more sense, and it's possible that I missed that by fast forwarding through the commercial.
I may be making that up, but I think I might have missed a critical thing. It would make more sense. It's a little more like he's been disappearing, that sort of thing. So Miz wakes up, he's got this really creepy drawing in his hand. It's I'm gonna say this hot take. It's Firefly Funhouse-ish.
Oh boy.
It's Firefly Funhouse adjacent.
I just want to know, like, exactly what would the audience need to see from Dexter Loomis for him to be a heel? Like, would he actually have to like murder one of his family members, or like what would have to happen for people to be like, maybe the Miz is like the victim in this?
If the Miz squashed him, they'd be angry. They'd be angry, but like I don't know. But to your point, yes, I don't know. Probably not much, because it's great. So this whole Alpha Academy, Gargano, Owens, Braun Strowman inevitably it rolls on Raw. Otis gets a win over Gargano.
Whoa, just a wild animal just jumped up.
Did it? Oh, did my cat come back? Yeah. Okay. So this all sort of played out. Otis beats Gargano clean. Both Garganos take losses on Monday Night Raw. Like, it's okay. Like, it doesn't really hurt him, because this is all about sort of Braun right now. But like, Braun comes out, makes the save. Here's what I didn't like. Braun super called the spot. Did you see him when he was picking up Gargano? He shouted over to, you saw him shout over to Otis, because Otis was still on the outside of the ring. I guess he shouted to him, and then right before he slings him over, you hear it. You ready? He turns, looks right at him. You ready? And then slings him over. Yeah. Braun's a little rusty. Braun's also not controlling his own narrative anymore. So who knows what's in his head.
When somebody else is controlling your narrative, there's always so much you can do. No, but right. I think you're right. I think that's one thing that I've noticed about him is, like, he looks fantastic. I mean, he's in clearly the best shape he's ever been in. But there are certain things that he's doing where it's like, that's a guy who's out of practice from being on a national TV show every week. And I think that'll come. I mean, but
Braun, I think, also was one of the guys who probably benefited from a lot of scripting and coaching and having it maybe be over micromanaged.
That's a good call.
That's not a real criticism of him. A lot of people are like that, are better when they're a little bit more directed. I guess I'm saying that Braun doesn't have the capacity to come up with something interesting completely on his own, but he's not as, I mean, he wouldn't have been able to do the stuff that Seth has done, or this is not his thing. He's just a monster. He's had to rely on that, and that's how he knows he's always going to be booked whenever he was doing anything. As soon as he got to FCW or NXT, because he's never really been in other promotions. He didn't come up through any indies, I don't believe. So he's always been this character that you're a monster. You don't need to say much, And guys that big can only do a handful of moves most usually. But
of all the guys that have been brought back, he to me is the biggest surprise, because I would not have thought that he was. Let's put it this way: I'm surprised that he was a priority for Triple H to bring back, because he came back after Triple H returned, correct? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a little surprising to me.
Tom, Bray Wyatt needs an enforcer.
Oh,
come on!
Of course.
Come on.
What was I thinking? Yes.
They need that. There's been a stuffed animal made for him for the last few years. They have to bring back. Each one has a character. Yes, that's clearly was. Braun. Where else is Braun going to succeed? This is exactly where he should be in some capacity. Although people, Shanky, I've seen Shanky do a swanton bomb. We've seen some of those guys do it. I mean, I want to see Braun get a little bit more than just a head full of steam if he's going to.
I do not need to see Braun attempt a swanton bomb. I do not.
They'd have to rig the ring to make it collapse.
I feel like just have the EMTs standing by, very close.
So then we had this contract signing, Bianca, Bayley. Like, it feels as though Bayley's going to win on Saturday. I don't have an opinion, because I think they're both great and they're both going to have, just like when Bayley and Sasha and Charlotte were sort of exchanging that title every handful of months. They're all going to be fine. Those two, I mean, I'm not worried too much about Bianca. I mean, so a lot of people complain that like WCW in the late 90s and early aughts, while it was completely a mess, titles are changing hands too fast. I don't like titles changing hands too fast, but I think this 2-year reign is not practical either. And it's compounded by the fact that it's unified at the moment. But like, I'm all about some semi-regular title changes. Titles change hands in other professional combat sports. It's like, it's not crazy. And again, if you play it right, Bianca's going to have 8 more reigns over 10 more years. That's all right. Like, nothing wrong with that. Contract signing, I guess, was highlighted by the attack. Great shot of Bayley pulling Bianca over the table by her long braid. But we just need to let these women go at it on Saturday. There was the part of that backstage fracas was what appeared to be an injury angle by Asuka. I thought that was unusual just because Asuka is billed as this badass, and she was crying over a hurt leg. I don't know if her and Alexa Bliss are going to continue to be the heavies for Bianca or not, but I think coming out of Extreme Rules, like a lot of things with WWE, are going to be reset, and I think the women's division will be a little bit more established, where like order's restored, because like, nothing against Bianca, but Bayley be a champion, Ronda will be a champion, and you'll have some dynamic things coming out of there. But I would be just fine if Bianca won. I just don't think. I think they're going to let Damage Control hold all the gold for a while. What do you think?
I think that the only reason that they may not change the title may not change hands is because if they're trying to make Damage Control ascendant in one of those factions that holds every available championship, it's surprising that they would let that come to fruition at Extreme Rules as opposed to Survivor Series or Royal Rumble. But having said that, I agree with you. I mean, story-wise, it does seem like everything is kind of pointing that direction a little bit. Or let me put it this way. The fact that they had the friends of Bianca Belair, whatever we want to call them, get taken out and presumably get taken out in advance of the championship match is suggestive of this idea of like, well, Damage Control will be there to help, Bayley cheat to win the championship. And if that's the case, then like you said, I mean, I think that's kind of there's a little bit of a reset. It also gives a chance for like Alexa and Asuka, who, as we've talked about, are like kind of lost a little bit, I think, character-wise. Gives them a chance to do something else and kind of reboot. But I do keep going back to this thing. Like, do they really want that to happen at this particular pay-per-view? Here's an interesting question. What do we think the main event of this pay-per-view is going to be?
That's a good question.
Because it could be this match that we're talking about. I mean, that's an option.
Yeah. I mean, if that's the match, then it sort of tells me even more, I think, Bailey's going to go over. So this, she stands tall rather than Bianca standing. I think Bianca's had these standing tall moments, but that would feel, if especially putting on last. The only reason I say they wouldn't is like, I was going to actually close with this question is, do you think there's any concern that this crowd's going to be just sort of antsy because all they want to do is see the White Rabbit reveal, and they know it's probably going to happen?
Yeah, I had to remind myself of where the pay-per-view was, and it is Philadelphia, so that's a very particular crowd.
Mm-hmm.
I do think you're going to see the reveal. I think it's going to happen. I think it's Bray. So then that leads to the obvious question of which one of these matches, based on what we know at this point, which is a lot of speculation, which one of these matches has the most natural tie-in to Bray Wyatt? Now, from the Elliott point of view, like, oh well, there's Wyatt family members all over up and down the card, so it could be any of these matches.
It would be McIntyre Cross.
Yeah. So
yeah.
So if it's Cross, then that, I think would be put it this way, it would be insane from a booking standpoint to have the Bray Wyatt or White Rabbit reveal not close the show, because if people love it, that's great, but the crowd's going to be dead from that point forward, because they've already, like, the climax of the event has already been reached.
Yep.
If they don't like it, boy, oh boy, you do not want to deal with a disappointed and surly Philadelphia crowd for another 2 or 3 matches. So you got to put it on last. So it's whatever, is the most.
But McIntyre, there's not a world title match in this card, which always makes it tougher. There's not a tag team title match.
There's not a men's world championship match.
There's not a men's world championship match. 2
women's titles match, which is why I was saying, like, it could be, like, there are several candidates for main event among this is I mean this sincerely, this is a very balanced card. I think these matches that have been announced so far, of which there are 6, you could put them in just about any order. I suspect that the 6-man will kick off the show. That would be my guess, because it's going to be super hot and people will be into it. But other than that, like, the rest of the card could be just about any order, other than they wouldn't put the 2 women's title matches back to back. But
right. So we're getting right up against it. We're going to finish the show. So the last hour of Raw was sort of, it was okay. Sikoa with Sammy beat Dawkins. Saw Montez Ford in a walking boot. Never like to see that. That was not good.
I had not heard he was injured until
I had not heard, and I really didn't know if there was an explanation given. If Mark knows, he can chime in. But let's hope Montez Ford. That's a small setback. We need Montez Ford ascending in that company, as I think he is. Edge cut a great promo leading up to his match with Finn. Edge was very sort of his character has changed very much in the last 2 months, and he seems like he's coming back like a lot in the last few months. So another guy who I'm curious what's going to happen after. If he goes over the Judgment Day, then what are we doing? If Judgment Day goes over on Edge, which I guess I'm thinking is going to happen, does Edge return, come back, go back for a while? Who knows? And then in the main event with Damage Control standing tall, Io beat Bliss, which was Bliss challenged her at the end. So Damage Control got the sort of final send-off before Extreme Rules. Again, and okay, much like SmackDown, there was a QR code shown early in the show that led to a couple of weird paintings of Samson and Delilah, which as soon as that happened, within 5 minutes, someone had found something that Bray had posted a year and a half ago, that he was on like a big Samson Delilah kick for a while, because Delilah betrayed Samson and it happened during a promo that included Alexa Bliss. There was just speculation, that Bliss was the Delilah to the Samson, all this stuff. So, and then it had coordinates to the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia, where Extreme Rules is. So yeah, we got another QR code. Dexter Loomis creeped us all the F out. And Extreme Rules is on Saturdays. So what I want from you is one lock and one thing you want to see Monday on Raw after the show.
Okay, I think the lock is Bray Wyatt returns.
Okay,
I mean,
you're
as much
saying a lot.
as uncertain as that might be, I think that's the lock.
Bray or the Fiend?
Oh, okay. Well,
Bray,
but
Fiend, or other new semi-debut.
I think it'll be new. I think it'll be something new. It will be reminiscent of the Fiend in the sense of he probably has some weird mask. It's clearly, Wyndham Rotunda portraying the character, but I do think it'll be something new. By the way, I liked the Fiend a lot. I really was a big fan of the Fiend.
I liked the beginnings of the Fiend. I mean, I liked kind of up through when he dragged Braun into the retention pond or whatever. But when he lost to Rollins, like that was it.
They made two horrible booking decisions with him. The Goldberg match and the ending of the Seth Rollins match. I thought the ending of the Seth Rollins match didn't hurt him as much because it really was kind of like not his. It's like that people were like, we love the Fiend, we hate WWE. Anyway, so to get back to what I want to see on Monday, I would love to see something that sets up Roman's next opponent, and corollary to that, I would love for it to be someone who we feel like is at least look. He's keeping the title for a while. He's going to probably keep it to WrestleMania, but at least like some doubt.
You won't see him with a new opponent because he doesn't face Logan Paul until early November. He's not appearing. So I would doubt that.
I forgot about Crown Jewel.
Yeah,
I always forget about the Saudi.
What's been featured for Monday is like the first face-off with Logan Paul and Roman Reigns.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, that's not going to be it. So it will be Roman Reigns. We'll see the first face-to-face confrontation, which I'm looking forward to. Like that'll be cool. But we are after Saturday. We're on the road to the Saudi Arabia.
And when is Crown Jewel? Like November 5th?
4th, 5th? Right? Yeah, early November. Like first weekend.
This
November.
Is again, as we said, it's like this Treehouse of Horror. These Saudi Arabia things exist on this parallel, sort of non-canonical.
It's the Star Wars holiday special. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's whatever, but like we need to get through it to get to like the real set up for Survivor Series moving forward. So
either way, it's gonna be fun. I know when did they switch from Sundays to Saturdays? When they started doing premium events on the Peacock channel?
They don't do it it's not every time, but I think it is going to be something that you're going to see a lot during like football season, especially.
Yeah, and then I guess your WrestleMania when they have Saturday and Sunday. Yeah,
right, 2 nights. I mean, unless it's possible I'm wrong, and this is a permanent decision they made. In which case, I applaud it. We've talked about this, but like those AEW Sunday night shows that are like 15 hours long. I'm just like, come on. I mean, unless now in this case, it's moot because it's a holiday weekend anyway, but like, I just can't do like a 5-hour show from 7 to 12:15 a.m. Come on, guys. We got like some of us do have jobs we got to do. And so anyway, so I love Saturday night.
Super Bowl should be on Saturday, or they should make Monday a national holiday.
There's a bye week before. Why would you not do it? You've got 13 days off versus 14 days off. The only reason they won't do it is because Super Bowl Sunday is such a powerful brand that they don't want to give up that brand equity. That's the only reason that game should absolutely be played on Saturday. There's no reason not to do it other than that.
No doubt about it.
What's your lock? What's your lock? And
what's my lock? My lock, I was thinking about the question, not so much the answer. Yeah, I think we're going to see Karrion Kross submit or end McIntyre, that he'll win. And on Monday, I might as well just go with it because I've been calling for it. I think there's going to be Bray Wyatt, Karrion Kross, Dexter Loomis, Scarlett Boudreaux in the ring Monday. Whether it's to open the show or close the show, we will see them coalesce Monday with someone else that we don't know who it's going to be yet. I'm full in on this Wyatt family part 2. I'm ready for it. I will not be disappointed if it doesn't happen because I'm 48 years old and I don't care that much. But yeah, I mean that's sort of the ultimate answer is like nothing really fully disappoints me nor excites me. Like if the Braves win the division over these last few games, like I love the Braves. Like cool. Nothing gets me really popping these days anymore because but and conversely I won't trash Triple H if he doesn't go this way, because this is all just a rumor. You know, in a lot of ways it doesn't make sense, but once I saw it in my head and I saw these characters, I'm like, that's the most interesting thing I can think of. So let's see. You better have something better than that, because like that's the leader in the clubhouse, in my opinion, as far as creativity goes.
Yeah, I would be fine with that, because it leads to sort of an obvious like Survivor Series something main event probably.
Cool. Yeah.
I think my preference would be that he does something solo. But I agree with you. I think it's, especially with the Survivor Series stuff, I think it's more likely than not that there will be a faction of some sort. I don't necessarily know if it'll include like all the people we just talked about and sort of that configuration.
Mm-hmm.
But like Loomis, I kind of get it conceptually, but it's like they've been positioning him, as we talked about, as a good guy in a semi-comedic feud. It would be, that would, like, Karrion Kross kind of would be a natural fit, I think, but like Dexter, like right now, I don't know, but we'll see. I think it's going to be a good show, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Do you remember, I mean, this is going back so long, but like when it was, I guess it was WCW versus WWF, and Undertaker, Kane, Angle, Jericho, and Austin had to coalesce against the WCW invasion. My fantasy booking with this Wyatt, Loomis, I think it might take guys like, require like The Miz and McIntyre and like a five collection of like high mid-card names. I think that would be the Survivor Series match over the Bloodline. Because I don't think they go right to that. I think the guys that these guys have been tormenting, maybe it's Owens, Gargano, McIntyre, Miz, pretty significant, high level, mid-tier, bottom tier stars, like outside your Romans, your Seth, to first take on this new dark faction that's coming in. Wyatt family runs through that. They go after the judge. I don't know what's next, but like I want a Wyatt-led faction, because the first time he did it was so good for so long, probably in the face of a lot of adversity. So like I want him to just take the steering wheel, aim for the center of the sun, and just go for it.
It's I'll leave you with this thought. It's interesting to me, and they referenced it in passing on the show. It's interesting to me that Tommaso Ciampa has suddenly sort of disappeared from TV.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Don't know if that's significant. Don't know if maybe he has. I don't know if maybe he has a house in Fort Myers. I don't know.
Right.
But it's just interesting that he was like deeply entwined with the Miz and the Dexter Loomis stuff, and then he vanishes.
Was there a bald stuffed animal character in the Firefly Funhouse? I don't know. It could be. If it was the fact, for anyone who was in Florida, prayers to you. Hope you're doing okay. For everyone who missed it, Robert Roode recently said that he had some surgery done. So like the guys like that who aren't being featured, these guys and girls put their bodies on the line. So when you miss them and they're hurt, that's what it. If it's it, take all the time you need. Just like we don't need any more Tua situations in wrestling. I don't want to ever see that again. So anyway, I'm excited for Extreme Rules. I'm excited we did an hour 20. Tom, you're welcome back every single time. I'd like you to continue this ride with me as we got finished week 4 of this show, Wrestling Chat with Friends, the Tuesday show. Follow us on all the channels, Facebook, YouTube, podcasts are on Apple and Spotify, and Twitter at WCWF Pod. Subscribe, like, join. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it. Enjoy Extreme Rules, and we'll talk about it next Tuesday. So we're gonna submit. We're tapping out. The match is over. Ring the bell, and we'll see you next week.